Today, we set out to have a feel of the MOS exam. For those of you who took the pain to take the online test, you may have experienced the MOS exam. Now, Certiport uses a framework: learn, practice, and certify. Now, the learn is what we are doing. We want to learn, and there are so many resources to learn. There's a study guide, there's a study text, there are videos that you can watch, or you can even participate in this training that we're doing. However, the practice from the perspective of Certiport and Microsoft also requires that you have a feel of the exam environment. So one of the things that Microsoft has done is to engage Certiport. And Certiport is a Pearson VUE business, and then they happen to provide certification credentials. So Microsoft went to Certiport, and then they teamed up together to come up with a program which will validate your skills in Excel. Now, that exam environment is simulated with a tool called Gmetrix. So for those that have actually taken the test, they have seen, we've introduced them to the Gmetrix portal, and it helps you to get ready for the exam. So we are going to see how the Gmetrix platform is, and we happen to be a distributor of the Gmetrix platform. So if you want to get an access code, or you want to purchase, we can provide you with a discount and then help you to set up. Now, if you open the Gmetrix platform, you're going to have a navigation pane here. So you have the home, and the home gives you a welcome to the new student portal experience by Gmetrix. If you have any exams or tests that you haven't completed, you have a prompt here to resume. You have the profile. You can redeem a code here if you purchase an access code from us. And then you can also have your transcript, and then you can also have a help here. Now, depending on the access code that you purchase, you can have these apps that you would be required to do under the MOS program. So we have two types of licenses. We have the single title, and then we have the full suite. So what you're seeing now is the full suite. Okay, if you are only interested in just a particular exam, then, or in a particular app in Microsoft Office, let's say just Excel, and you don't want to see Word, or you don't want to see, let's say you're interested in Excel Expert, and just that, then you need a single title. With that, you're not going to see the Word 365, Word 365 Experts, Excel 365, and PowerPoint 365. It's the same. If you just are interested in Word Associate, you only go for Word 365 and not Word 365 Expert, the Excel, or the Associate and the Expert, and then the PowerPoint which is also associate level. But we often recommend that you go for the full suite so that you can have access to both modules or all the modules in the Office suite that are examinable. Now, please note that once you are able to, you have this, you would also have access to different versions of the exam. So we have Office 2016, and then over there you have for Outlook and even Access as well. Okay, and then you also have for 2019. But for 365, it just focuses on these ones. Okay, so we'll configure, depending on what you want to see, we can configure it for you to have all these models. All you need to do is to purchase one from us. So we'll send out a questionnaire, a form to collect your interest to purchase one, and then we would provide you with that. So the next thing that we are going to do is to pick the next thing that we're going to do is to pick the associate level. Okay, so this is the MO210 Excel. So that is what we are going to practice today. Now, under this, you see that you have the study guide, you have the practice exams, and then you have quizzes. And you can use your access code over a 12-month period, and you have 100 uses. So if you use it for 100 times before the 12 months expire, you will need another access code. Now, this helps you to reduce the risk in failing an exam, okay, and increases your chances of passing the exam. So we really recommend that for you. Now let's look at how the study guide is being structured. So if you go to the start, okay, from here, it gives you an upcoming exam, depending on the date that you have shared. If you've taken the exam a number of times or the practice questions a number of times, it will give you what your average score is. And then it will give you some summaries about what you have completed and what you have mastered, which you can also print. Now you can see that from here, you can also measure your proficiency and exam readiness. Okay, now this is manage worksheets and workbooks, manage data cells and ranges, manage tables and table data, perform operations by using formulas and functions, and then you also have manage charts. You can toggle between comparison, and then you can also look at the list. All these help you to get ready and also to look at your proficiency before you take it. Okay, now let's look at how it is structured. So you see that the objective domain that we have here. So this is what I'm referring to. The objective domain that we have here is what has been outlined here in the Gmetrix portal. So let's pick something like import data into workbooks. Okay, so I am viewing this. Now what the objective domain does is that under the study guide is that it will give you an overview. So when you select this, it gives you an overview of the exam. And then it gives you sub-objectives. So import data from text files, import data from online sources. So all you need to do is to select it. Now, the study guide would explain and demonstrate how you can do that with screenshots. Okay, so it will teach you. You can import data from text files, and then it will give you how to do it, and give you screenshots, just like a steady text or notes. Okay, and this can be very helpful when you are getting ready for the exam. So look at sub-objectives, apply table styles. It will give you a preview of it, and then you can do. So this is just very, very straightforward and a very powerful resource to get it done. Now, I remember the first time that I took the exam in 2014. I was very confident. I knew how to use Excel. I was very proficient. But the sad news was that I failed the exam because I didn't really understand the exam environment. I had not practiced. And even though I was proficient in Excel, I failed the exam and wasted the fee that I paid. I only achieved success when I got introduced to the Gmetrix platform, and then I practiced, and practiced over and over again, and then I was able to pass. All right. So in view of that, let's have a feel. We've gone through the study guide, so we can go back and then pick one of the practice tests, and then we can get it done. Now, we're going to do the practice exam 1. So I'm going to start it. And then when I start it, when there is any pending test that I haven't finished, I can resume it. Okay, but I'm going to start a new test. Now, when you start a new test, you can indicate the language that you want to do the exam in. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 languages that you can do the exam in. And this is very great. Now you can choose between testing mode and training mode. Now, what's the difference between the two? When you're in testing mode, you're going to have the 50 minutes that has been allowed on the exam to count down. So we begin from 50 minutes up until we get to 00. And you'll be timed out and then scored when the time is up. But when you hit training mode, you are able to get unlimited time and feedback on your answers. So when you are getting exam ready, you can use training mode. And when you want to see that you can sit for the exam, you can time yourself and put it at testing mode and then do. So that's exactly what we are going to do now. You're going to do this in English in training mode, and there are 35 questions. The time allowed is 50 minutes, and then the passing score is 700 out of 1,000. Let's start the test. Now, when you try to start the test, what happens is that you would have your screen preventing you from doing any other thing else. In the main exam, you can't access your web browser, you can't access anything. Now, this test would also come with some materials. Okay, so you would be required to look at the first task. You would be required to locate a Gmetrix templates folder and then pick a file from there. Now, this is the Gmetrix templates folder. You will see that it will be downloaded in the Gmetrix in my documents, okay? And then you can double click it and see the file that is being referred to. So when using the practice test, that is how to go about it. But in the main exam, you'll be told where to pick the information from. Now, you see that the exam will open Excel where you'll be applying whatever, and then you'll be given a project pane here. Okay, and from here, you can show the test interface tips. You can resize instruction text, and then you can also dock the test runner to different positions. You see your count up or count down here. You have a summary, you have a restart, you have a save, you have a grade project. Now you can go to a previous task, you can go to the next task. When you complete a task, you can mark it as completed. You can mark a task for review, and then you can click help. And we are going to jump into it right away. There are 7 projects. So this is one of project 7. So the first thing that we are being told to do is to import the data from the source file moredrentals.xml located in the Gmetrix templates folder. We are also to load the diving rentals data to a new worksheet and accept all other defaults. Now, I will say that the test is a specialist test exam. You need to follow instructions. When you ignore those petty things, you will not be given the score. So if you are told to accept all other defaults and then you make even a single change in there, you will not be scored. So you need to ensure that you are told, you do what you are told to do, and just that, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, let's get started. So we are to import the data from the source file located in the Gmetrix templates folder. And we are to load the diving rentals data to a new worksheet. So how do we do that? Anytime we want to import data, we go to the data tab. And this is an XML file. So we go into the get and transform data group. And then we select this drop down. So this is a file. We go to get data from file, and then we have from XML. So you click from XML to import the data. Ensure that you also have internet connection because the Gmetrix requires internet connectivity. So I open it up and then I select the more rentals XML and then I import. So having imported that file, I am being told to load the diving rentals data in that XML file to a new worksheet. So I've connected to an XML file, extensible markup language file. Now, this is the data navigator of Power Query. So what I need to do is to locate my file. And then this is the file. So I select the file and I can preview the content of that file. Now, this is what can get confusing. If you don't know where to do this loading, you may be stuck. But this is where it is, and the exam can be very subtle. It requires that you know the whereabouts of all the small commands that are very critical for executing a task so that we can say that you're a specialist. Now, look at where I have to use the load, how I can load the diving rentals data to the new worksheet. I have to minimize this window because that command is hidden here. So if you don't know where it is hidden, you will be stuck. Now, from the Power Query Data Navigator, I can load the data, I can transform the data, and I can cancel. You are required to load the data to a new worksheet. So if you click load or transform, you'll be marked down. So you need to click this drop down, and then you click load to. So look at where this is hidden. If you don't know how to import data and understand all these things, you can't find this. You click on load to, and then it's telling you to load it to a new worksheet. So accept all these defaults. When you even add a tick to this, you've gone beyond what you are required to do. Or when you change any of these, you've gone beyond what we are required to do. Accept all other defaults means to choose OK. And then task number 1 is marked as completed. You mark it as completed. And you can see that this has been imported in there. Your table design contextual tab appears, and then your queries and connections task pane also appears on the right. And then you also have your query editor appearing on this new tab. These are two contextual tabs that appear when you are dealing, you have a query and you have a table in place. So you mark as completed, and then you go to task number 2. Now, task number 2 says that on the self rentals worksheet, clear the formatting in cell range A4 to D4. What do you need to do? All that you need to do is to go to that sheet and make it active. It says go to cell range A4 to D4. Now, you can A4 to D4. There are times that they can be difficult to locate a range. So one of the best practices and the exam tips that I'll recommend for you is that anytime you are told to locate a particular cell range, use the name box to do that. So let's go to the name box and type in A4 colon D4 and press enter. It will go to that particular cell range, and then it will highlight it for you, or to select it. And you are being told to clear the formatting in the cell range. So all you need to do is to go to the Home tab, go to the editing view, and then see where clear formatting is. This is where clear formatting is. And then you clear the formats so that you don't get it wrong. And then we mark as completed. Now let's go to the next. On the self rentals worksheet in cell C15, enter the rental cost of a full day boogie board package using the sum function and the named range boogie package. So you're being told to go to C15. So you go to the name box, and then you type in C15, and then it takes you to that particular cell. And what do you need to do next? You have to put in a formula, and that formula requires the use of a sum function. So you begin with the equal sign, you type in your sum function, you press the tab key to open parentheses, and then you are being told to use a named range. How do you know that a named range is available? When you come to the name box and then you click the drop down arrow, you see all the named ranges that are here. So when I press the escape key and I click this drop down arrow, this is the named range. When I click on it, it selects that named range that will be used in the function, or that has been named. So over here in C15, I'm calling up the sum function, and then all I need to do is to call it up by typing in the name of the range, press the tab key and then close parenthesis and press Control Enter. You can also press Control Enter and then it will work just fine. So we mark also that as completed. And then we go to the next task number 4. It says change the orientation of the Self Rentals worksheet to landscape. So we go to the page layout tab, go to the page setup group, and then we change the orientation to landscape. We mark that also as completed, and then we go to task number 5. Inspect the workbook for compatibility issues. Copy the results to a new worksheet. Now, how do you do that? To inspect a workbook for compatibility issues, you need to go to the File tab. You need to go to the Info tab. That gives you information about the workbook. And then you scroll to this area where we have check for issues. You click on this drop down and then you can check for compatibility. Now you are being told to copy the results to a new worksheet, and this is the command for doing that. Trust me, if you don't know where this is located, you will be stuck. And what you can do to save yourself time is to mark it for review and quickly proceed. So assuming that I don't know how to do that, I'll just mark it for review and then try to proceed. All right, so let me mark that as completed. Now, immediately you are done with this task, what you need to do is to grade the project. When you grade the project, it will look at whatever you've done for that project and then move on. Now, because we are in training mode, I can grade this project. And when I grade the project, it will tell me whether I have done something right or wrong. So you can see that it's a very great learning tool. Tasks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 have been done correctly. And then I can choose next, and then it takes me to the next project. So you see that this is project 2 of 7. Now, because I am in training mode, I can restart a project. When you restart a project, what happens is that you can start afresh and it will reset everything to default. Now I can save the project, but you can do that in the main exam. You need to complete the exam. So over here, we are going to save the exam onto our PC. Okay, we're going to save the exam onto our PC. And then having saved the exam onto our PC, it will be saved here. So you see that I can always resume the test. So let me click on this, and then I can resume the test and then continue. So this is a very great tool. So I am resuming the test. And then try to continue. You can also save it in the cloud. So this is task number 2. I can also go to the summary page. I can go to the summary page, and then I can go to a particular tax. I can go to a particular tax in a very simple and intuitive way. So this is what I have here. I can go to tax number 1. So I select it, and then I can go to that particular tax. So when I scroll down here, I can go to the selected question and then look at it. So you see that it's taking me back to project number 1 for us to look at. So these are just a few tidbits that we want you to know about and how to navigate your way through the practice test. Okay, let's pause here for about 15 minutes and then we will come back to continue. So let me save the test or save the project, local, then we can resume from there. All right. So let's take about 15 minutes, stretch a bit, receive a phone call, take some water, drink some tea, and then we can resume fresh and continue. Any question before we go? All right. All right, so I believe we can resume and then continue. We have any questions before we move? Okay. All right, let's go ahead. So we're going to resume our test. We're going to resume our test. Let's create a project to go to the next one. Now the next one says that join cells A1 to E1 of the of the fencing worksheet. Do not change the alignment of the contents. Okay, so by join cells, you are being required to merge the cells or use the merge command. Now, you are not supposed to change the alignment. So you need to know the tool to use. Okay. Now, cell A1 to cells A1 to E1, we are referring to the fencing sheet. Now, this can be a little bit confusing. When a sheet is active, you see it a little bit grayed out. So check the carriages and cages sheet, which is active versus the fencing. So if you're not careful, you may think that the fencing sheet is rather the active sheet. No, you make a sheet active by selecting it. And this is what we have on the fencing sheet. So if you go and apply that here, you're going to get it wrong. We want you to do that on the fencing sheet. So go to the fencing sheet, go to the name box, type in the cell reference. And then it gets selected for you. Now you are being told to join the cells. So it means that you need to merge. You go to the alignment group, and then we have the merge and center command here. Now, if you apply merge and center, you're going to have it wrong because it merges or joins the cells and changes the alignment. But all you need to do is to just merge. So there's the drop down that gives you the various merging options. You can merge and center, you can merge across, you can merge cells, you can unmerge cells. You are required to just merge cells and not merge and center. Okay, so we merge the cells, then we can mark as completed. Let's go to the next task. On the carriers and cages worksheets, link the contents in cell C19 to cell B5 on the fencing worksheet. Now, this can be very, very confusing. So you need to pick it one after the other. So you see that on the carriers and cages worksheet. So this is the carriers and cages worksheet. So you can select it. Link the cell contents in C19. So what is C19? So this is what we have in cell C19. You can just select C19 here, and it will bring you to this particular cell. Now, you are being told to link this particular cell to B5 on the fencing worksheet. So, fencing B5. So, you want to link that to this particular cell. So, you make sure that you're on the carriers and cages worksheet. Then you can right click and then you scroll down and then you use this command, link to this range. Now, when you pick this command, okay, it does not do the same thing as what we are requesting. So let's close this. We right click again, and then we have another link here. So this command rather links you to the cell. And if you look at the objective domain, we are trying to insert what we call hyperlinks. So you use the combo box here, and then you click on insert link. So you want to add a hyperlink. So this is the window or the dialog box that we use for inserting hyperlinks. What do we want to do? We are on the carriers and cages sheet, and we've selected cell C19, and we want to link it to E5. So all you need to do is to go to place in this document. You click on the fencing sheet, and then you make sure that you type the cell reference B5 here. So anytime you click on this, it will take you to B5. And you can see from the description, it gives you the location, the file path, the sheet, and the reference, and tells you that if you click it, you hold the control key, it will take you to that particular cell reference. So let's mark as completed. Let's go to task number 3. So from the task number 3, you are to apply conditional formatting, which is icon set, to the contents in the inventory column. So you make sure that you're on the carriers and cages sheet. This is the inventory column. So make sure that you select whatever you have in the inventory column. You go to the home tab, you go to conditional formatting, you go to icon set, and then you select the 3 flags. So this is the 3 flags icon set, and then it gets applied, and then you mark as completed. Now, because the exam is timed, you need to be very fast and know some of these things by heart, else you'll be timed out. That's why you need a practice kit. Let's go to task 4. On the same sheet, expand the chart data range to include 20 feet outdoor run. So we are here, and then when you select the chart, you see that the range that is being displayed in the chart is highlighted. So all you need to do is to drag this icon, this border here. So let's drag this. Position the mouse in the lower right-hand corner and then drag it. So when you drag it, this area gets updated in the chart, and then let's mark as completed. Now let's go to task number 5. Here to apply style 4 to the charts located on the carriers and cages worksheet. So we select the charts, we go to chart design, and then we choose a style. So here we have the chart styles, and then we can apply style number 4. So this is style number 4 today. So we can mark as completed. So you will see that the exam picks and chooses. That is why we did that project. If you're using Excel, you are not going to have things very linear. Okay, it is a little bit iterative. You pick and choose. You may even be creating charts before you create a table. Okay, so the things that you need to do in a project may not be linear, but may be iterative. And that's the same thing that the exam is trying to do. It picks and chooses. Let's summarize. So let's cancel this. Let's grade the project to see whether we got something wrong, and then we can fix it. Okay, so we had everything right. Let's go to the next project. So project 3 of 7. So we are supposed to simultaneously replace all occurrences of the word splurge with T in the entire workbook. So we need to use the find and replace. So we come here and then we click the replace command to open the find and replace dialog box. So we are to replace splurge. If you make any typographical errors, it will be marked down. So splurge with T, and the scope of the find and replace is not a sheet, but a workbook. So you change the workbook as the scope, and then you can replace all. And this is done. So we mark as completed. Let's go to the next. On the costs worksheet, repeat the rows containing the company name and column headings so they appear on all printed pages. So that's what we did this morning, how to print titles. So we are being told to do that on the costs sheet. Make sure you select it. And then you are to go to the page layout tab, print titles, and then repeat the rules containing the company name and column headings. So the company name appears on row 1, and then rows 2 and 3 give you the column headings. So let's select this. So click and we highlight rows 1 to 3, and then we choose OK. So this is done. We mark as completed. Let's go to task number 3. We say simultaneously apply the dollar format to columns B through G on the profits worksheet. So this is the profits worksheet. Select to make it active. And then you highlight columns B to G. Okay, so this is columns B all the way to G. So you're being told to apply the number format. So what you can do is to highlight it. You go to the home tab. You go to the number group, and then you apply this dollar. Okay, that's the dollar format. Let's go to task number 4. Modify the chart on the profits worksheet so the flavors are displayed as horizontal axis labels and expense and income are the legend series. So you select this. This is where we have the chart. And then you go to the contextual tab here, and then you try to apply this command, which is switch row and column. So what happens is that you swap the data over the axis. And that's what the question is. So the understanding the question or the problem is key to knowing the right tool to use in the Excel. So this is very, very important. So let's switch. And then we have this done nicely. Okay, so you can see that we have done that particular switching. So let's mark as completed. Let's go to task number 5. Modify the chart on the profit worksheet, so the legend appears at the top. So how does the legend appear at the top? You need to scroll to the right, and then you grab this chart elements icon. So charts have elements, and this is the legend. And if you don't know that the legend has a right arrow, that's what makes you a specialist. If you don't know it has a right arrow, you'll be stuck. So it requires that you know the in and outs of it. Okay. So let's scroll down a bit. Pick the legends and then choose top. So you see that it now appears nicely at the top. So this is the legend appearing at the top. So let's mark that as also completed. And then let's grade the project. So we also have all of that accurate. We are good. So let's go to the next. So we are in exam mode. We are training, but we are in exam mode. We just want to have a feel of the exam environment and the stakes at hand. If you're not careful, you can just waste $100 and you will be crying. So we want to be ready before we play that game. Create one name range from the cell ranges F5 to F15 and F18 to F26. Name the range support. So first of all, you need to locate F. So we are in column F, and this is F5 all the way to F15. So F5 to F15 is here. So we select that. Now, how do we select non-contiguous cells? We combine the first selection with the control key. So you hold the control key and then you select the next range, which is F18 to F26. Now, how do you name a range? There are so many ways, but the quickest way is to go to the name box and then name it directly from there. So we're going to call this support. And then we press enter. And we mark as completed. Let's go to task number 2. Use the structured reference in a formula to calculate the number of rows containing phones on sale. Display the results in cell H5. So we want to go to cell H5. So this is cell H5. The total smartphones on sale. Now, this is one of the areas that you need to be very careful. If you don't use the right tool to get a task done, you will not be given the score. So look at what happens. I am going to use the count function to count the number of rows containing phones. Okay, so there are two tables here, smartphones and tablets. So when I use the count function, it will get a job done. So the count function counts the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. Okay. The count A function counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. So I'm going to use the count A function or the counter function. And then I'm going to select all these cells here. And it gets the job done. So there are actually 11 cells here. Now, let me grade the project prematurely. You see that I haven't answered task 3, 4, and 5, but task 2 has been marked wrong. You may be wondering why. Because I didn't use the right function, even though it will still give me the same result. So let me retry again. So it's asking me to use the structured reference in a formula to calculate the number of rows. So the proper function to use is the row function. So let me change counter from here to row. To rows, it says returns the number of rows in a reference or array. And then I press enter. So I still get the same result. Now let me create the project for you to see. And then you see that I've been marked right. So the exam will not allow you to be cutting corners. You need to do what you are supposed to do, what you've been asked to do. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay, let's go to the next. Let me go back to project number 4, where I was. So I'm going to task number 3. So I've gone back to task number 4, the previous task, which I've already done. I put in the rows function here and I mark as completed. Now we're going to task number 3. Now, before we even continue, the task required that I use a structured reference. Now, what do we mean by a structured reference? Anytime you have a table in place, you see that references to the table are what we refer to as structured references. So I told you that there are so many types of cell referencing. We have relative referencing, absolute referencing, mixed referencing, structured referencing, and even sheet referencing and 3D referencing. So you need to know how to use these very proficiently. So the numbers or the cells that are actually counted were referring to cells B5 all the way to B15. So cell B5 all the way to B15 could have given me the same results. So let's check this out. So I'm using the rows function, and then I am highlighting B. Let me type in B5 all the way to 15. I still get 11. So the difference between the two is that one, this particular formula is using a structured reference, and this is using just a range. Okay, and that is the difference between the two. In a structured reference, you see hard brackets being enclosed around them. So the argument of the row function is telling me that the structured reference is referencing a table called phones, and we are counting the cells in the smartphones column. So this is what we need to understand in terms of the structured referencing. And structured references often behave like absolute references. Okay, let's mark as completed. Let's go to the next task. Remove all conditional formatting from this worksheet. So it's very simple. All you need to do is to go to conditional formatting, and then you clear rules from the entire sheet. So we clear all the rules from the entire sheet. but you need to know where the command is located. Commands that are hidden, that if you don't understand the basics, you will never know is what is being tested on the exam. Those petty things are what make you a specialist. So you should not expect to see very basic tasks being asked of you to do. You need to know where every command is. Okay, let's go to the next task. It says that rotate the text, storage, price, sale, and support in both tables to angle clockwise. So if you don't read carefully, you highlight this, you go to alignment, and then you choose angle clockwise here. Okay. And you mark as completed. Now let's grade it and see why we are being marked down. So I haven't done task number 5 yet. I've done task number 4, but I have been marked down. The question is why? The reason is that you were being told to simultaneously rotate the text, price, sale, and support in both tables, not just one table. So there are 2 tables on this particular sheet. So this is also another table. So you need to do this as part of it. Angle counterclockwise. And then let's grade the project again and see. So you see that now we have it right. We have it right because we have fully completed the task. If you leave anything or any task partially done, you will not be marked or be given the score. Okay. Let's go ahead. So let's revert to the 5th task again. Perform a multiple column sort on the data in the smartphone table. First sort alphabetically by the smartphone column A to Z, then sort by storage from Z to A. So it says that do this on the smartphone table. So don't go and do it on the tablet table and you'll be marked down. So we want to go to the smartphones table. We're going to apply a custom sort to do a multiple sort. So you go to the data tab, go to the sort and filter group, and then you choose sort. But what are we to do here? We need to first of all sort the table by smartphone column. So this is a smartphone column. We have to sort it A to Z. If you do Z to A, you do mark down. Now we need to add another level to do the multiple sorts. So we are sorting this time around by storage, but this is supposed to be sorted Z to A. We choose OK. Then that is also done. So we mark as completed and then we bring the project. Project number 5. You can have an overview of the project here so you can understand it. But typically, you may not have enough time or the luxury to be doing that. So you just jump into task number 1, configure the catalog worksheet so rules 1 through 3 remain visible as you scroll vertically. So remember that this is not print titles. You are not printing, but rather you want to free space in the worksheet view. So you're going to select this row because you want to freeze rows 1, 2 to 3. This is not the cell. You are trying to make rows 1 through 3 remain visible when you scroll vertically. So when I scroll downwards, you see that I don't see rows 1 to 3. So I'm going to select row 4. Anytime we are freezing pins, what happens is that in the case of freezing rows, you need to select the row above which you want the rows to remain visible. So it means that if I want to freeze rows 1 and 2, I'll select row 3. If I want to freeze row 4, I'll select. If I want to freeze rows 1 to 3, I'll select row 4 so that the rows above get frozen. So we go to the View tab, we go to the Window group, and then we freeze the top row. Now you see that when we scroll downwards, we didn't freeze right. Okay, it's frozen rather row 1. So what we need to do is to unfreeze the pins, select row 4, and then we freeze again. So now when we scroll down, you see that rows 1 to 3 is frozen. Let's mark as completed. We go to task number 2, add the status draft to the document properties. Now, how do you add properties to a document? You can go to the File tab to take you to Backstage View. You go to the Info tab, and here we have the document properties. Now, you may search through and you may not find the status draft because it is hidden here. So you need to select Show All Properties so that this would appear, and then you can key in drafts. It can be very subtle. And I often say that the MOS exam requires humility. If you're not humble and you think you know so much, the exam may outwit you. Okay, let's go to task number 3. Configure Excel to always print cell range A1 to F1, F17 on the sales worksheet. So let's select the sales worksheet. And this is telling you to configure the spreadsheet to print. So you want to do the page setup. And then set the print area. So how do you do that? You've been told to work with a particular cell range. You can copy and then you paste that range in the status, in the name box. And you see that this area has already been selected. All that you need to do is to go to the page layout, go to page setup, and then select set print area. And this is selected for you. The mark as complete. We go to task number 4. On the sales worksheet, randomly generate numbers between 1,000 and 2,000 to populate the auction ID column from A4 to A17. So how do you do that? You can just look at cell A4 to A17, just copy the range, go to the main box, and then it will give you what range we are referring to. So it's this particular area. So let's use the run between function. A function has 2 parts, the name of the function and the arguments of the function. So we are going to use the run between function. Give it the equal sign, type in run And this is the run between function. It takes in two arguments, the bottom and the top. So the bottom number is 1000. And then the maximum number or the top number is 2000. Now, when we press enter, automatically you see that it would fill in because we are using a table. Let's mark as completed. Then let's go to task number 5. In cell B4 on the sales worksheet. So this is the sales worksheet, cell B4. Insert a function that joins the description and style located on the catalog worksheet. Separate the description and style with a hyphen and a space on both sides of the hyphen. And an example is that this is how you combine cross-country and hardtail. So you really need to understand how to use a function, the right function, and the right arguments. There are two functions that may come to mind. One of them is the concat and the other is the text join. If you use concat when you are supposed to use text join, you will not be given the score. If you use text join when you are supposed to use the concat, you will not be given the score. So we really need to use the right one. So over here, we are combining. So the tool that we need to use or the function that we need to use is the concat function. It's the concat function. All right. So what we need to do is to begin with the equal sign, type in concat, say concatenates a list or range of text strings. So we double click or press the tab key. And then what text do we want to combine? So we go to the catalog and then we choose description. And then we bring a comma and then we select hardtail. And then we close the bracket. Now, you'll realize that we need what we call a delimiter. Okay, we need what we call a delimiter. That delimiter is going to be a hyphen and a space. And that is what we're seeing here. Okay, so we need to introduce that delimiter as also another argument in the function. And anytime we want to introduce text in the function, we need to keep it in inverted commas or speech marks. So we open the bracket. We also need spaces around it. We've been told to put a space around the hyphen. So you introduce a space, you type in your hyphen or dash, you introduce another space, and then you close that in speech marks. You bring a comma, and then you press enter. So it is going to show exactly how you are being required to do. So let's mark as completed, and then let's build this project. So you'll see that it is not entirely interesting to have done this training or this course by just jumping onto the Gmetrix and then doing. We wanted you to see how you can build something from scratch as a specialist, know the tools that you need to use in order to get it done, and then also prepare yourself to validate your skills through certification. But the focus is also to help you learn, practice, and certify. Some of you may want to learn, others may want to learn and practice, others may want to learn, practice, and certify. Okay, and for some, they already have the skill sets they need to get certified. So we've created this course such that all these needs will be served during the course of the program or the training that we're doing. Okay, so let's see what we can do next. So we are going to the set project. The next task we need to perform is that on Q1 worksheet, so this is the Q1 worksheet, it's already selected. Add an option to the table that automatically calculates the total load. So how do you just do that? When you select a table, the table design contextual tab appears. And in the table style options, you can add a check here to insert a total load. So that's all that you need to do. Let's go to task number 2. On the Q1 worksheet, in the maximum row, insert a formula in cell E12. So let's quickly navigate to E12. So this is E12. And then we put in a formula that returns the largest number of visitor attendance for the quarter. So we're going to insert the max function, highlight, and then we close the bracket. Okay, so that's so simple. The max function. It's also using a structured reference. Now let's go to task number 3. On the same sheet, we need to insert something into cell A15. Okay, which is here. Now we need to insert the sort function, which is actually new, a new function, I think in 2019 or 365 or 2021 version of the Office suite. We have this new function called the sort, and it is a very powerful array function that we can use. So instead of sorting whatever we have in this table, we can do it dynamically here with the use of a function. So let's begin with the sort function. And then look at the arguments of that function. So the sort function takes in 4 arguments. The first argument is array. The second is sort index. The third is sort order. And the fourth is by column. Now, one of the things that you need to understand about the arguments of a function is that there are some of the arguments that are optional and some of them are required. Now, how do you determine a function argument that is required versus one that is optional? You see that the required functions, arguments do not have hard brackets around them. So over here, you see that the array function or the array argument does not have a hard bracket around it. But sort index, sort order, and bicolon, they all have hard brackets around them because they are optional arguments. So we're told to sort the data in A5 to B5. So by sorting A5 to B5, you can highlight A5 all the way to B9, sorry, A5 all the way to B9. So this is what you are required to select. Now I can close the bracket because that is the required arguments. The rest are optional. If you don't provide the rest, you can still have the function doing its minimal functionality or its default. So from here, you see that it has sorted this table, and by default, it has sorted by the first column, and it has sorted it here. It has sorted by just looking at so you have the Arcus, the Bryce Payon, Lance, Capital Reef, and Zion. So it means that they are being sorted in alphabetical order. So what is happening is that by default, the first column has been used as the field to sort this particular table or range that we selected up there. But the question is requiring that, or the task is requiring that you sort in descending order by attendance. So what you need to change here now is that you can introduce a comma to go to the next argument, which is the sort index. Introduce another comma if you don't want to keep the default, but the sort order has to be descending. So we are going to select the descending argument here, and then we close the bracket. And then you can see that it has sorted it in descending order. So I want you to play around understanding the sort function very well before you touch the final exam. Let's mark as completed. We go to task number 4. We are to go to quarter 2 worksheet, convert the cell range in A4 to E9. So let's select A4 to E9. A4 to E9. We convert this range in A4 to E9 to a table with headers and apply a certain style, the orange styles medium 18. So how do you do that? All you need to do is to go to the Home tab, go to the Styles group, and then you format the table, you format the range as a table. Now, what is the style we are supposed to select? Medium 18, orange, medium 18. So orange, so this is where we have the medium. We're looking for orange. So this is orange table style medium 5. Let's look for medium 18. This is medium 19. This is medium 12. And then this is medium 18. When you choose any other, it will be marked down. So let's select it. And then we choose OK. Let's go to the last task in project 6. Apply layout 2 to the pie charts on the quarter 2 worksheet. So this is the quarter 2 worksheet. This is the pie chart. And this is where we apply the layouts to it. So this is layout number 2. We need to know where the commands are located. And then let's grade our project. Now we are told that task number 3 is wrong. So it means that we need to go back. So let's go back to task number 3 and see why we had it wrong. So let's go back to summary. So if we had completed it, we would have been marked down in the final score. So task number 3, let's go to it and see where we had it wrong. So it's still the sort function. So we need to go and fix it. So it says that insert on the quarter one sheet, insert a function in cell A15 below the head. That sorts the data in cell range A5 to B9 in descending order by attendance. So we need to ask ourselves that, did we sort by attendance? We rather sorted by the national park. And for that matter, we were marked down. We are supposed to sort by attendance. Okay, so if we need to sort it by attendance, then we need to look at the arguments again. So the range has been selected, right? So let's start all over again. We give it the equal sign, we type in our sort function, and then we highlight the range again. We bring our comma. Now, what we have selected is where we have the attendance. The attendance are the numbers. And that is why we need to provide the second argument, the second optional argument. Because if you leave it out, it will use the names of the national park. So we are going to use the second column where we have the attendance. So we are going to put in index number 2. So to represent the index of the column. Then we bring the comma and then we choose descending order. And then based on that, we can close our bracket because the other one is an optional argument. We don't need to provide it. And then you see that this has been sorted by descending order. Now let's grade the project again and see whether we had it right this time. Good. So it means that we've gotten it right and we need to follow the instructions that we are being given. Let's go to the last project. Project number 7 says on the employee bonuses worksheet, which is already selected, insert a mixed reference in cell F4. So let's go to F4 so that the formula will correctly calculate the commission. So we want to put in a formula, and this is where the commission rate is. Now, whilst we move from cell to cell, you see that we need to pick the total sales and then be multiplying it by the commission rate here. Now, you are being told to insert a mixed reference, not an absolute reference. So if you make this cell reference absolute, you will have it wrong. You are to insert a mixed reference. So what we are going to do is that we are going to make row that contains this cell absolute. So this is in G2. So we'll go to the cell reference here in G2 and place the $ in front of it to make the row reference absolute. So that as we move from row to row, the formula gets completed. So he says that correct that. By the end of the day, you are to ensure that the formula is correctly calculated for the commissions for each one of them. So if you leave it here, you'll be marked down. You need to fill it to ensure that the correct commission is being selected or is being completed. So as you double click, you see that this is relative, and then this is the row reference is actually absolute. Let's mark as completed. And then we move on. Task number 2 on the parts worksheet. So this is the parts worksheet. Use the autofill to copy the formula in cell E4 to calculate the total for January through March for each employee. So we are just going to position the mouse here and then fill down or even double click it to do it quickly. So this task is also completed. Now we go to employee bonuses worksheet. Remove the row containing the salesperson named Alan. So on the employee bonuses worksheet, this one, you don't do it on the pass sheet. You go down, you see Alan. How do you delete it? You delete Alan by selecting the cell, right click, and then deleting the table rows. And when you do that, you get it done. Very simple. So we mark as completed. Task number 4. On the path sheet, you need to apply aqua table style medium 20. So what it means is that when you are not able to do a particular task and it is repeated, you're going to be found wanting. Okay. And you will mark down. So we are going to table style medium 20 for aqua. So let's look for that here. So aqua is blue. We are looking for medium 20. So this is medium number 20. So we select this and then it gets applied. We need to be precise. And the final task that we have to do here is to insert a spark line in cell F4 that graphs the trend of sales from January through March. Okay. So what is a spark line? A spark line is a miniature chart, but it can be inserted in a cell. And these days, because we've moved to Power BI for a lot of the dashboarding and visualization, we don't get to use a lot of Excel in our dashboarding. But at first, a typical Excel dashboard will have a lot of spark lines. So we are going to insert a spark line. We go to the Insert tab. We go to the spark lines group. Now you've been told to insert a spark line that grabs the trend. Okay, so you need to go for the line charts rather than the column or win or loss. We go in for the line because it gives you a trend. Now you are being told to provide 2 arguments, the data range and then the location range, which is already selected in F4. And then you need to select January all the way to March. Now be careful you don't add the total to it. It says graph it January to March and press enter. That's all that they are told to do. Anything more than that, you will mark down. If you drag this thing down, you will mark down. So you just keep it there. You do what you are told to do. Let's create a project. And then we have everything right. Now, after that, you are done with the entire project. All that you need to do is to finish the test. You can save it and use it over again, and then you can finish the test. So let's finish the test. And then when we finish the test, we are going to see our score. So let's allow it a bit of time. And then we are going to see our score. So this is how it's going to look like. I think about 2 years ago, I remember one candidate that we set up, and he had 1,000 over 1,000. He had 100%. And he's so far the only person who has taken the test from our side privately and been able to have 100%. Okay, he did so well. He did so well. So he used if you ask him about his success story, he used the Gmetrix practice test to do a lot of tests and get himself ready before he took it. And he actually took the Excel expert at a go, and then he had 100%. Okay, so you can print this and then you can share it. Okay, share your achievements, and then you know that you are good. So the beautiful thing is that Abromex Consult happens to be a certified authorized testing center, and we have what it takes to set you up for the exam itself. And we also have the Gmetrix practice tests, and the various licenses are available for purchase. So we are going to run something more like a promotion. Those that are interested in getting a copy of the kit and purchase one from us at a discount that we would reach you out with on the various pages or on the class page. Okay. So to wrap up for today's session, we've been able to complete different aspects of our objective domain. As you can see, based on what we did today and the test, we've been able to import data from text files. Okay, we've been able to navigate to name cells, ranges, and workbook elements. We've been able to insert and remove hyperlinks. We did that today. We've been able to modify the page setup. We've been able to change window views and then built-in workbook properties. We've been able to look at that. We've been able to set a print area, save and export workbooks in alternative file formats. And then we've also been able to configure print settings. So we're going to mark that as well. Okay. Now, we haven't done how to manage comments and notes. We've seen how to use run between, but we haven't used the sequence function. So we're going to highlight the sequence function in red, and we'll see how to use that. We've seen how to merge and unmerge cells. The test that we took actually dealt with that. We haven't learned how to wrap text within cells, but we've seen how to apply number formats. Okay, clear formatting. Format multiple worksheets by grouping. We haven't covered that. Okay, but we've seen how to define a range and reference a named range. The test that we did today demonstrated that. We've seen how to insert backlines, apply built-in conditional formatting, and remove conditional formatting. If you watch the video, you're going to see it. We've seen how to create Excel tables from cell ranges, apply table styles, and then convert tables to cell ranges. We've also done that. We've seen how to remove table rows, configure table style options. We showed the total row, and then we inserted and configured the table rows. That's also been done. We've not done filtering records, but we've seen how to sort data by multiple columns. We've seen how to use structured references in formulas. We've seen how to count. I demonstrated that using the count A function. Okay, but we haven't used the count blank and then the count function fully. So learn how to use that when we are doing the next project. We've seen how to sort data by using the sort function. We've seen how to use the concat function, but we haven't touched text join. So let me highlight text join. Okay. We go to charts. We've learned how to, we've not talked about creating charts, creating chart sheets, but we've seen how to add data series to charts, switch between rows and columns in source data, and modify the chart elements. We've done that. We've seen how to also apply chart layouts, chart styles, and we are left with add alternative text to charts for accessibility. So you can see that by completing this test alone, we are just close to completing the objective domain. Now, the advantage of recording this session is to help you to watch it over and over again, to get your hands greasy with whatever we have done, and then we'll couple it with something practical from scratch when we do the other projects, and then you will benefit yourself. Okay. Now, this brings us to the end of today's session. We have 1 minute more. If there is any question, we can take it. If there is no question, then we can end today's session. Okay, Bulugu. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Benson. I have two questions. The question is, I would like to ask you, as we have
I think your line is not so clear. Can you be very audible? Can you get closer to your...
Can you get me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes. I want to ask you on the Gmetrix environment system.
Okay.
When we on the actual testing, does the system allow to save the project and check if the question, if the answer is correct, and give you an alternative to correct the answer if it is correct? And the second question I would like to ask you on practices on training, does does the system give the questions are dynamic? That means if I check for the first time, it brings me some questions, and when I do for the second time, it changes the question. It brings me new questions. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think the line wasn't so clear, but let's see if I got you right. So you're asking questions about the Gmetrix platform. So if I got you right, are you looking at how you can acquire one?
Yes, I'm looking at how I can acquire one, but my question is during the
Okay.
testing.
Okay,
Like
good.
we are,
So
we are
we'll
because
take,
we are testing correctly.
so just after the class, we will engage you on that. Okay, we'll engage you on all the questions on the Gmetrix in your DM, and then we'll take it out from there. Okay, we'll have a quick discussion after that, and then we'll try and resolve it. Okay. Are we good? Okay, Bulugu, are you good?
Yes, I'm good.
All right, okay. So I'll engage you right away. Yeah, okay. All right, so bye-bye for now. Thanks so much for making it. We meet next week to do week 4. Thank you.
Presentation.